I don't know what happened. Suddenly my internet. Okay, Dalia.
Done.
Okay, we're just waiting for Nancy. Yeah, something happened to my internet and it
Me
just,
too.
yeah,
It's here.
okay, well, let's start, guys. How was your day today?
Mine was pretty good again.
Happy about that. Happy to hear that. How about your Dalia? How was your day?
It was good. I'm working with my students of second grade today, and they behave well.
Oh, that's the best thing ever. How about you, Natalie? How was your day today?
Is very busy because we have a teacher that today is her last day. She's in like, she has like 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
And today is her last day of all.
Okay.
And we have a ceremony. Right now is the ceremony, but I'm here today.
Hello. We're glad to have you here. Okay, guys, well, I'm just going, I just wanted to ask you before we start, did you guys get a chance to do the assignments that we were talking about yesterday? Just wanting to know if you have any questions or if you have had any issues. So nothing yet. Okay.
No.
Good. So let's continue with the presentation. A second. Okay, so you can see my screen now, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry. We are here in TPR. Okay, so today we're going to start with total physical response. The total physical response, also known as TPR, is built around the coordination of speech and action. This is according to Richards and Rogers. The TPR method expects kids to learn a new language exactly how an infant acquires its native language. A baby spends many months listening to the people around it long before it ever says a word. All these things would encompass what we do when we're teaching through total physical response. The children listen and do the movement. After this, the pupil will understand the concept. Sentences are repeated very many times. The kids don't use memory. They're not memorizing things. They learn it through actions, and that helps them assign it with their brain. And after a few minutes, the children will do the movement on their own. So let's have an example over here. Miss Black, has already, one second, has already explained the instructions to all the students on his classroom. Hold on one second, admit all. Okay, we have more people joining. Eduardo and Alejandro. Eduardo, Alejandro. Very good. Hi guys, happy to have you back. We were talking about TPR and we're just starting, so we're with the first example. Mr. Black has already explained the instructions to all students on his classroom. First, he starts pronouncing a simple word, spin. He follows the command himself and starts spinning. Then everyone is following the same order, taking Mr. Black, as a role model. Next, he says hop. Once again, he follows the command himself and waits for the students to start imitating him. Another word is uttered. This time it is dance. Mr. Black starts dancing and the students understand that they must dance too. Some minutes later, Mr. Black starts uttering sequences of commands. He starts with hop, spin, and dance. And then he goes with hop, hop, and dance. And finally, spin, dance, and dance. Everyone in the classroom obeys. We find out students are quite tired because of the quick change of commands. Nonetheless, the class continues. Before we continue with a little bit of the discussion about the assignment that you're going to do for the TPR, I would like to hear if you guys would like to share some of your experiences with this method. Especially since most of us here, well, most of you, not me, I don't like children that much, but since most of you work with children. Would anybody like to share? Okay, Dalia.
Well, teaching the days of the week, I use TPR because they need to know that it is a cycle.
Mhm.
So they start like clapping Monday. I don't remember the movement, but
Okay,
every day has a different movement.
okay.
And they have to repeat
Mhm.
to understand that the days are repeating.
And it's a never-ending cycle. I like that. I have never thought of teaching the days of the week with movements. I learned it with a song, and actually my daughter was studying that for her exam this week, and I reminded her of the song, which is silly.
I use this technique because I have some students with the special needs, so they
Oh,
need
okay.
to learn through movement.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay. What what are the ages of the children you're teaching, sir?
5, 6, 7.
Okay. 5, 6, and 7. Okay, very good. Thank you, Dalia. Anybody else would like to share their experience with TPR?
I do a warm up or playing in the chairs,
Mhm.
something like that to make it fun and they put attention to me.
Yeah, with musical chairs. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Anybody else? Alejandro?
I didn't, well, I'm just driving, so I didn't know what are you talking about.
I was just asking if you have any experience or something in your class that you would like to share to us using the TPR method.
Yeah, recently on second grade, I'm teaching teenagers.
Mhm.
Second grade, we were like learning about, well, making a quick review about prepositions of place. And some of them didn't know them.
Mhm.
Well, and I just taught them, but with movements, like in, and I put a hand in the other one, right? And
Mhm.
on, under, and so on. And that's kind of a TPR, I
Yeah.
think so.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. Mhm.
They were like so excited because I make a contest.
Mhm.
So the team that didn't make any mistakes, they won an extra participation and something like that. So
Mhm.
that was good, I think so.
Very good. I like that example. Okay, anybody else would like to share? Eduardo, Natalie, Nancy. Nancy already shared. Okay,
Okay,
Eduardo, go ahead.
me.
Uh-huh.
We were doing a game that is called Shape with Friends. We were
Mhm.
learning shapes, and they used to do the shapes as a group, working as a group, as a team, and they need to do the shapes that we are showing. For example, circle, and they need to work as a team, and they can be laid down on the ground or stood and make the shapes. If I
Okay.
say, for example, circle, they do a circle.
Mhm.
Square, rectangle, and they decide to, I was checking that some are leaders,
Mhm.
and those kind of things are pretty interesting because sometimes kids are not so good working as a team.
Mhm.
Those kind of exercises were so helpful.
Yeah. Mhm. Very good, thank you. I have used the TPR method with adults, and they at first they do feel like a little bit silly, like, oh, I'm going to look ridiculous and they're going to make fun of me, but then at the end they realize everybody else is laughing and they're having a good time and they're doing something different besides sitting on their chair. But I usually do the just simple things like Simon Says, and for teaching adverbs or using teaching them new vocabulary, especially related to actions. And I don't know, maybe I would say, Simon says, run fast. And they would try, you know, imitating that actions, and they would laugh. They think they would be like weird for them to be 30, 40, 60 years old and doing all these games, but that would make them excited, and that would definitely help them learn these new words. And I do remember as well, which is not that TPR-ish, but it did help with them a lot. I usually, especially to break the ice and just to make the class a little bit more dynamic, and then continue with another activity. Whenever we used to work with songs, I would make them sing the song, of course, and then at the end of the activity, I would tell them, stand up and dance the song. And there would be no teacher, I'm embarrassed. And I'm like, no, everybody will stand up and dance. And I want you to sing, and I want you to read the lyrics. We already reviewed the word. And if you can act the situation, that'd be better. But I want to see you dancing. So at the end, I do remember at the end of the courses that they were like doing their exams, and I would hear them singing the song that we learned that 2 or 3 weeks before, because it just stuck in their heads, and they remember like, oh, and I remember that we learned this vocabulary and this verb tense because we were singing this song and the teacher made us dance and sing. So it's not that TPR-ish, but it does help. Anybody else would like to add anything? Nope. Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, can you see the screen? Hold on 1 second. There you go. Okay. So after we're done with class, you are asked to do the audiolingual and the structural and the TPR methods in a 20-minute class. You are going to do a lesson plan for this. You're going to use the format and prepare the class, and then you're going to record a video of yourself or your team. But since we are not in the same place, we're going to try, I think it's much better if we do it by ourselves. If you would like to join in teams, that would be fine for me. And the topic for this class would be your choice. You choose whatever you want to talk about. Make sure every activity presented on the video, time and resources and method is described in the lesson plan. So you're going to do that activity after class is done, or whenever you have the chance during the week, and you are going to drop the information in this part and upload the video over here. Does anybody have a question? Nope. Okay. Let's continue. Communicative language teaching. In the second half of the 20th century, language professionals started realizing that being able to communicate required more than linguistic competence. It required communicative competence, That is according to Himes from 1971 and is cited in Larson, Freeman, and Anderson from their book from 2011. Feedback is the communicative approach. The communicative approach, I'm so sorry, says learners need language knowledge and knowledge of how to use the language. When we have language knowledge and we add that to how to use the language, we're competent when we're trying to communicate. Students sometimes find it difficult to immerse themselves in a foreign culture. They think that language works just like, sorry, let me admit this person. They think that the language works just like the way it happens inside the books. It is our duty as teachers to familiarize all the ways in which we can express the same intention. We have an example over here. Here's a description and an example. I want you to guess the name of the person shown on the card you choose, says Mrs. Dalloway. Perhaps you've heard about these people before. They're famous celebrities. This way, students start giving hints to each other about their unknown identities. Some of the kids say, you look happy, you look mad, you look sad. When Mrs. Dalloway approaches each group, she gives them new ways to express the same intention. You look happy, you're cheerful, you look jolly, you seem to be joyous. If you notice, students, they're all synonyms. You look mad, you're angry, you're not too happy, you seem troubled. You look sad, you have a nostalgic expression, and you seem to be on the verge of tears. In this way, Mrs. Dalloway is teaching her students to learn new options to express the same feeling. Questions so far? Okay. The natural approach. Krashen starts by telling us that acquisition is an unconscious process that involves the development of language proficiency through understanding language and through using language for meaningful communication. And then adding that learning is a process in which conscious rules about the language are developed. This is according to Richards and Rogers from 2001. Here we have our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of this method. Students can feel uncomfortable with the class. Students' filter is in the appropriate level of learning. Learners can use the foreign language to communicate. Weaknesses would be students will increase just some skills of the foreign language, for example, their speaking skills. Teachers would think they don't need too much, it's missing an O over there. Students would think they don't need too much preparation to teach using this method. Opportunities. Teachers don't correct students' errors at the time they make it. Students can't talk as much as they can without having their flow cut. Okay, there's a few mistakes here. I'm sorry about that. Teachers should focus just in oral skills, but not in writing or reading skills. This would be the threats of this method. And students could not participate in group works if the classroom environment is not the right one. Does anybody have anything to share about this method in their class before we continue with the example?
No.
Nope, nobody else? Natalie, Nancy, Alejandro, I am sorry.
No.
roll calling. Jorge, Jasmine, Marco, Alejandro Campos. Very good. Just a quick question before we continue. Alejandro, which is not registered as Alejandro Campos, which would be your last name? Sorry, what? And we couldn't hear you. There was a weird echo. Could you repeat?
To say that I'm using two devices.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
that's why I have twice. My name is twice.
Okay.
So, but
I was thinking we have two Alejandros, and I'm like, I need to check that for the attendance. Okay, let's continue. Second. Let's look at an example. Mr. Plummer starts the class by talking about the classroom. He talks slowly and asks simple yes or no questions occasionally. He asks his students, "Do you like the classroom?" A student nods. "It is quite colorful, don't you think so?" A shy student says yes. Right then, Mr. Plummer takes some techniques from the total physical response method to start working on a couple of verbs. Jump, draw, and scream. Most of the students remain quiet, although some of them say yes or no from time to time. Mr. Plummer knows he can't force students to do something they don't want to. That's why, when the TPR activity comes to an end, he asks students if they'd like to say their names. Federico, says a red-haired boy. Federico has red hair and freckles all over his nose, Mr. Plummer says. Now tell me, what is the name of the students with the red hair? Some kids answer by saying Federico. So if you can see, he's realizing that he has to do a little bit of extra in his strategies to make students open up and speak. And just by giving him this little example of, okay, Federico said his name. Everybody knows the name of Federico now. So it's just easy, and it makes students, shy students especially, feel comfortable by asking them to answer a question that they already know the answer. He just said that a few instances previously. So they know they will give a good answer, and that starts developing confidence on the class. Okay? Now that I gave you an example, does anybody have an experience or something that they would like to share from their class in a similar situation? Nope. Okay, nobody opened their microphone. Okay, let's continue. Talk-based language teaching. Learners induce linguistic information from the language samples they work on. Task-based learning, which is TBL, would work this way. We have a pre-task, which would be engaged in standards. We have a task, which would work the planning, the presentation, the task, and it goes on. And if we continue the flow chart, we would end with review, which would test the accuracy of what we've been teaching. Task-based languages teaching can be divided in 3 phases. The pre-task. This is the first part of which students are supposed to get acquainted with the results they're expected to achieve. Here, the teacher may give some hints and all the necessary elements, vocabulary, definitions, and synonyms to help students get prepared for the main task. The main task. Once everyone has understood what they're expected to do, the teacher will assign a task to a small group of students. There is only one condition. Everyone must do their best to speak in English. The follow-up task. Even if the class time is over, the teacher can give some feedback and test once more their understanding of the task they have just finished. The teacher can even decide to change the mechanism and be the one to speak. While the students are tasked with the listening activity. We have an example over here. Damn it. Sorry about that. I think my computer froze. Okay. An example would be hotel reservations, plane tickets, and sightseeing table. Okay. For the pre-task, Mrs. Colby will write 3 lists on the board. One for the hotel reservations, where she, along with the students, will write all the indispensable aspects of choices to make into account. The name of the hotel, the localization, and the facilities. Another one to buy the plane tickets. The name of the airline, the number of the seats to buy, and the traveling time. And the final one about the sightseeing timetable. Mrs. Colby will ask her students to come up with place suggestions to visit London. Then comes the main task. Mrs. Colby will form small groups. In this way, students will discuss and write in their notebooks their preferences for each of the category they've just established in the board. Maybe some of them would talk about experiences with a certain airline or with a certain hotel chain. Mrs. Colby will hand them in some leaflets with information about each of the 3 categories. And the follow-up task. Mrs. Colby will take home each group's sheet of preferences to check them out. The next day, she will hand them back corrected. Together, they'll discuss their choices. Mrs. Colby will end the activity with a simple dictation in which she will describe the definitive sightseeing timetable for their imaginary trip to London. This way, students will be expected to write down the exact order of activities. Do you guys have any questions so far?
Not questions at all, but I think it's kind of a strategies and methods that these professors or examples are given
Mm-hmm.
to us. I think I needed to read them once and again to try and how could I put it in class? How could I use it in class? Because every strategy also requires that as a teacher, you make it your own. And I see it and I try to figure out how this will work in my groups. Sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, I don't think that I could do that, or I could ask that information, or maybe they won't answer to me because I don't have a previous experience with these strategies. So I have no question about them, but I need to read them again, maybe after this course, because they are interesting.
Yeah, I know. And I think that sometimes we even actually might, without knowing or without realizing that we're planning a specific class and that we're using a certain method and you didn't realize it. Oh, like I just realized that I am using this, the TPR, or I'm using this, whatever method we just, of all the ones we just saw. Anybody else would like to share an experience in their class with this last method that we just spoke about?
Yeah, me, I think, well, it is like too common by teaching English to teach them by using some task, because that's the way as a teachers we can realize that they're learning.
Exactly.
So we need this method. So for example, another topic that I can remember is teaching the topic giving directions. So once I gave them the vocabulary, I like test them by listening a recording. And well, first of all, I gave them a map, so they have to follow the instructions on their worksheets. So they have to do the movements and well follow directions, right? So and that's the way they learn. Once they learn the vocabulary, now they have to apply it. And if they apply their knowledge, if they're not use it, it's like I think it is a waste of time.
Do you have a specific activity, a specific example of a class that you remember right now that you used the TVL method?
Yeah, but on that topic, giving directions, we made up some boxes and we create like a box was the hotel. Another we created a little city, kind of a city, and the students, they were like on the court. They were like, by teams. A team was giving the directions, and the other team, they were like following those directions by walking around the court.
Okay, good. What subject were you teaching exactly? Well, just vocabulary?
No, we were learning about giving direction.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're completely right. Giving directions. Yeah. For some reason, I thought you were.
Huh?
Sorry, my mistake. Anybody else? Okay. I do have, well, I think that as Alejandra mentioned, this is very common in class. I do have an example that I would like to share with you guys. Maybe it might help you when you're preparing your lesson plans. A very specific activity that I remember using the TBL method was when I was teaching. We had to use at least twice every course. We had to give them a video class, and for some reason, video classes became complicated because students just thought that they were going to watch a movie. They didn't really enjoy watching the videos from the book created from the material. So we tried to use something that they could relate to a little bit more, and we used approved. Let me stop the sharing. And we used approved material from our director. And I remember, I think it was the movie Legally Blonde. I'm not exactly sure which movie it was, but I remember that I had a class of teenagers, and that movie would be appealing to them. And it was a nice movie. It was pretty. It did not have subjects that would be, hard to tackle with teenage students. So I remember that before we started the class, I gave them, okay, so we're going to watch a movie. I gave them the instruction, and we started talking. I said, before we watch the movie that we are going to during this class, we started talking about movies. What were their favorite type of movie, their favorite genre, if they had a favorite actress, a favorite actor, whatever. And then I gave them a short list of about 10 words of vocabulary that they would probably that was probably going to be a little bit new for them, and that was very common because of the movie as part of the movie, right? So I gave them the words, and we reviewed some of the vocabulary that we had previously seen, and I played the movie, and I just played a part of it because classes were for about 15 minutes. So I think we watched about 20 or 30 minutes of the movie. And I was stopping the video, of course, and I would make questions and ask them, what do you think would happen next? And what do you think of this character? What is this character doing? Whatever. After the movie was done, I gave them a short Q&R that they would write down the answers. And we answered a few questions that were not in that list. Maybe they had questions. Teacher, I did not understand the situation, or what does this word or this expression mean? And then at the end, I gave them a homework. I told them, you did not finish the movie. Most of you probably hadn't seen it because I think it was kind of new at that time. I don't remember. And I'm going to ask you to go home, and you're going to write a paragraph speaking in, I don't remember if it was the past tense or the future tense, but I asked them, like, what do you predict you think will happen? And they went home and they wrote 2-3 paragraphs about whatever they thought was going to happen about the movie. It was a guess, but I asked them to use the vocabulary that they were given before the movie started, and I asked them to use the words that they already knew from class, etc. And the next thing they came in, I took their work, I checked it, and we shared all the predictions of the students. That was our first video class from that course, and then we paused it. And 2 weeks later, we went back to video class, and we got the chance to, I don't remember if we actually finished the movie, but we could see most of it. And then they were like, oh, I wasn't that wrong. I had a slight idea that this was going to happen, etc. So it was a nice and easy way to just let them know, to give them a small warm up, to prepare for what was coming, to give them the task, and then give them something else to work that would continue their work at home. Any questions, anything similar that you guys want to share? This was with teenagers. I think I did it with adults again. Yes, Natalie? Natalie you raised your hand, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
And my daughter does that too, and I remember that when she had her Zoom classes, but then all the kids raised their hand and the teacher wasn't sure.
I closed the door because
Yeah, go ahead. You close the door, there's a lot of noise.
that outside it's very noisy because it's the retirement ceremony, but I closed the door. I
Okay.
remember I worked giving directions.
Mhm.
We use a platform like Google Maps. And I remember that all my classmates were happy because I live in Colima, but it's in a municipality
Mhm.
called Cuauhtemoc, and it's really a small place. And my classmates, they didn't know where they live each other, and they got very happy because they see that many live really close to each other,
Mhm.
and they were so happy. And I had that.
I can't. You're breaking. We couldn't hear we heard that they were so happy, but then there was a problem with the internet, and we couldn't hear the last part. Okay. Yeah, Natalie, you froze. We can't hear you.
They
Okay.
knew that.
Uh-huh.
I think I have a problem with the internet.
Yeah.
Me voy y vengo. Okay. They got very happy because they see that many live really close to each other,
Mhm.
and they didn't know. And now in the afternoons they play a lot because they see that they live really, really close.
And how did you use Google Maps, and you had but how did you use this method?
I did it with my cell phone. I
Okay.
connected to the cañón. And
Projector.
and I projected in the board, and we use my phone, and we saw all the how to get to the school, like como partiendo de su casa, pues, como, and they did it like that, and all see that, oh, I live from that address, and we use it like that.
What did you do before the activity? How did you give them like a small presentation or a warm-up before doing the?
They have a book. My classmates had a book, and they saw like information, giving directions in like a city, and they saw first how to go to the library, and how to go to the bank, and how to go to places, and we use it like previously, and then they did it like information, personal information.
Okay.
And we did it like that.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Nancy,
teacher.
you were going to share something with us?
No,
Oh,
not really.
Oh, okay, because I saw that you unmuted your microphone. Anybody else would like to share an example that they did in class with this method? Yes, Dalia?
I do an activity but during the pandemic, it was online, and I do a video to present verbs in past, and I and I tell my students a funny experience. The task was that they have to write down a similar activity or situation, a funny situation, or something like that.
Okay.
And they write down and send by WhatsApp.
Okay.
And then I give them feedback.
Okay, good. Very
I
good.
know that it is okay about reviewing,
Mhm.
but I I give them feedback if they use correctly the verbs in past.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dalia, very much. Okay, let's continue with the next method. One second, let me share the screen. 1 second. And here's our presentation. Okay, Suggestipedia language learning method. According to Georgi Losanov, the main proponent of this method, believed that memorization and learning by the suggestipedic method seems to be accelerated 25 times over than in learning by conventional methods. This is according to Losanov in 1978, as cited in Richards and Rogers from 2001. This method intends to erase all mental barriers, thereby suggesting our brains to be free of prejudices and emotional burdens. To achieve this target, look no further than the fine arts and sometimes the native language to explain instructions. Suggestipedia takes inspiration from the calming nature of art. We may see some paintings in the classroom, colorful posters, and classical music being played on the background. Above all Suggestipedia classroom, must be a safe, stress-free, and comprehensive place for students to grow and exist. To stress the importance of this freedom, students are asked to create a new identity, therefore getting away from their own learning blocked identity. The strength of this method would be that students are exposed to exceptional classroom arrangement with music, decoration, and so forth. The use of varied activities such as drama, songs, and games. Weaknesses would be comfortable furniture and chairs that are not allowed in public schools. Not every school has the opportunity to have such furniture. It focuses on memorization, but it doesn't pay attention to understanding or solving the problems. Opportunities. Suggestipedia allows the development of a good mental state that is calm and relaxed, but alert and focused. And people remember best when they're mostly influenced by information coming from an authority source. The threats. Since Suggestipedia suggests a whole different and modern way to tackle topics, it cannot be well accepted by all the teachers. For students, this method and its activities might become monotonous since they know what is going to be taught in class. This is not a very common method, but I like it. The characteristics of Suggestipedia. It stimulates the whole person, it undoes block, goes rapidly forward, gives creative solutions, encourages relaxation, strengthens self-image, talks to all the senses, optimizes learning, propagates talent, enhances learning, dramatizes material, includes pictures, music, and movement, and addresses the whole person. Has anybody had the opportunity in their classrooms to use the Suggestipedia method? I haven't. Yes, Dalia?
I thought that Suggestipedia was just put relaxing music at the class, and it is more than for music.
Yeah, because I have played classical music in classes, and sometimes some students say, oh, it was so nice and I was calm, and some other students say I had a headache after the class. So I'm like, should I do this again? Anybody else? Nancy?
Yes, yes. In this month of December, we play with music and do some activities with sticks
Mhm.
about what they listen. An example, if we play a song with Santa Claus, so I try to tell them about what the music says, and they try to make some creative stops
Mhm.
with the sticks that I gave to them.
Okay, okay,
That's it.
okay. Since you guys teach children, do you have classrooms that are decorated according to, you know, well, the group with pictures and drawings and things that can serve as stimuli for children?
Yes.
You do, Nancy? Okay. Anybody else? What about those who teach older students, like teenagers or adults? Do you guys have any source of resources around the classroom decorating?
Sometimes when we, well, I want to speak. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, go ahead,
Uh,
Jessica.
But of course I have to look like a gypsy the class to class moving myself because there is a lot of material that I have to work with, and the groups stays in the same classroom and I have to move one from another group.
Mhm.
So sometimes is the third grade, the third grade, and then second grade, and the first grade, and
Mhm.
are different materials because there are different topics. So yeah, I use a lot of material, but sometimes it's hard because you have to be like a gypsy with all the car behind you and all the different materials. For example, it's very grateful for them see some fruits, vegetables, numbers, and the weather also.
Mhm.
Sometimes those that we thought that they already know, and even when they are in secondary school, they don't know them. They
Mhm.
don't use them. They start watching them. Sometimes just like pictures of different famous, um, how to say, artists
Mhm.
and painting,
Mhm.
and they saw them, and they don't even know like Picasso and things like that, and sometimes it makes a conversation. You
Yeah.
can, well, I can use a conversation from 5 minutes to
Mhm.
get the attention class.
And help them, you know, acquire pop culture information, which is, no, not pop like pop in music, but pop culture, like popular culture, that they know all these artists, that it should be common knowledge. That's the right word, not pop culture, common knowledge. Okay, thank you, Jasmine. Anybody else would like to add something? Have you had any experience with the suggested PDF method? Okay, let's continue. Let's go to the silent way method. In the second half of the 20th century, linguists realized that a new language must be learned through the student's own thinking processes or cognition. The silent way can be summarized in 3 short sentences: to teach, to test, and to get out of the way. The silent way says, tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn. This is a very famous phrase from Sir Benjamin Franklin. The strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats of the silent way. Students increase their vocabulary. There's more interaction between students while they're learning. It helps students' reading and oral skills. Weaknesses, the teacher doesn't have too much participation in the class, he's just a judge. Some students can't feel confident when working in groups. The method should be used in small groups because of the use of charts. It can be hard for groups with very many students to see the charts. Opportunities, students can correct their mistake by themselves and also each other's. Students get some sense of independency. Working in groups can reinforce students' relationship And as threats, we have that students can have some problems with some words because too much silence that the teacher, might have because the teacher is not getting that involved. And students can get confused with the color rods and the words that are in the charts. The silent way forces the teacher to remain silent for most part of the lessons. This is not to say that speaking is forbidden for him. If it should be necessary, the teacher can say words or phrases to help students follow the class's rhythm. Also, this method considers essential the use of vital charts. Do you know which charts we're talking about? The vital charts?
No.
Okay, let me Google one for you. But those are very common. So some of these, this is what is most common for us. This kind of, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So this would be the most common vital charts for us. But if we have the silent way, we can also have this type of charts. And there's another vocabulary word over here that I was going to ask you if you guys were. And the Cuisinart rods. You've seen them. Let me show them to you. These are the Cuisinart rods. So that's what they meant about why it has to be a small class, because it might be hard for students to be able to see the colors, etc.
That is used in mathematics. It's called CIME. That's a way of learning mathematics.
I am so bad at math. I wasn't aware that you could teach. Well, that the Cuisinart chart was actually used for math classes.
But grammar is math.
Yeah, you're completely right about that. And music is as well. I don't know why I'm good at grammar, but I'm terrible with numbers. Okay, so in the final charts for the silent way, English sounds are distributed in blocks, and they also use the Cuisinart rods, which are conceived to help students learn the color equivalences of the charts. Peer help is allowed. Even the use of the native language is acceptable. Ideally, the teacher must allow his student to work by themselves, committing mistakes and helping one another. We must not forget that the silent way is intended to teach only reading and writing exercises, where students will face the learning of the target language sounds and some words. So the silent way is to be applied on basic levels. Before we continue, does anybody have a question or something that they would like to share about the silent way? Eduardo, maybe share what you've done with these rods in the math class, in your math class?
Yeah, but we should use the colors and the size of every single piece. And they used to use vocabulary as plus, minus, and to say the amounts that they are using in the mathematical process. They need to use that vocabulary with some additions and multiplications, divisions, and it's so easy.
Okay. I have never
They
I've seen
used
it, but
to
I've never used it.
they used to be focused on colors because colors gave you the amount.
Okay. Well, thank you, Eduardo. Anybody else has anybody else used this method in their class?
I use with bingo. in
Okay.
class. I pick up one of the students, and when he don't pronounce the word, and the other tell them or acting. or doing the sound with
Okay,
animals or colors and numbers.
okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much with bingo. Okay. Anybody else would like to share something?
In fact, Lorena, sorry,
No, it's okay. Go
With-
ahead.
with those pieces of materials, they used to do trains, they used to do antennas, they used to do so many things that are going to be so helpful because sometimes building it's so interesting for them, and they used to work so well with those kind of pieces of materials.
Okay. So they build things.
Yeah, for example, you can do a train.
Mhm.
If you say, for example, I don't know, I want an addition of 10 plus 10 plus 5 equals, and they used to use those pieces. For example, the orange one, I think the value is 6.
Mhm.
They used to use those pieces, and the addition is over there using those trains. Trains means a line of pieces of this material, and
Okay.
it's so funny and so useful for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine with all the colors and shapes.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you, Eduardo.
Thank you.
Okay, let's continue with the presentation. Functional and notional approach. The functional notional approach expects students to learn the language for the sole purpose of achieving a communicative purpose. The most important aspect for this approach is the function will fulfill when using, producing, and receiving the language. The functional notional approach gives us importance not to the level of difficulty of a topic, but to the utility level. So it will be an ordinary occurrence to find that the most used topics are placed before in the curriculum. That is so because we want to teach our students how to talk, not to build their language by organizing topics on a complexity scale. Let's look at an example. Continuing with Mr. Bradshaw's English class. Mr. Bradshaw, a man utterly focused on the functions of language, will teach his students English by using learning blocks, such as, for example, to talk about the weather, he's going to use the following learning blocks. It's sunny. I'm freezing. The sky is blue. Do you think it'll rain? Clouds, snow. It's raining cats and dogs. Come rain or shine. Apologizing, I'm sorry about. I didn't mean to upset you. Could you ever forgive me? Forgiveness, apology, my apologies, and I beg your pardon. And for reviewing a book, I found that novel amusing. I advise you to read the prologue first. The ending was not as enthusiastic as I thought it would be. Be a bookworm. Don't judge a book by its cover. Every week, Mr. Bradshaw chooses a topic to start. From then on, he teaches relative phrases, vocabulary, and idioms to fulfill the functions he's talking about. Above all, he prioritizes the communicate side of learning. He continually asks his students to participate and engage themselves in whatever topic they're reviewing. Okay, same question. Has anybody had any experience using this method during their class? Nope. Functional notional approach.
I didn't get well if it is, well, what I have done sometimes is, for example, from a topic like numbers, I give them some choices to learn that class. For example, what about making operations, arithmetics, or mathematics, or sometimes what about making sums, additions, or things like that, but about that topic that we have already seen, not for like the first time pick up a topic. No, I have never do that. I always prepare my class
Yeah.
without without asking the students what they want to learn.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else would like to add something? An experience with their class? Nope. Okay. Let's continue with the presentation. I don't think I've ever actually have this a method in my class where I grasp a whole subject and I just choose, things that are related to the subject. I think we definitely follow, as you mentioned, a class that has been previously planned, not just, well, it doesn't mean that this is not planned, but there is a previous plan and we don't get to easily choose if we just want to talk about something different. And usually, it's pre-planned, they have their activities made. So I think this method is a little bit foreign to me. Okay, we're almost done with the methods. I do want to see all of them with you guys before we continue. The test, teach, test approach. This approach is divided into 3 stages. First, the discovery stage, when students will be asked to complete a task by themselves. This is the moment when the teacher will be able to do a careful sounding of his students' knowledge. Perhaps here, students are given a glimpse of the target of the final task. Then we proceed to the theoretical stage, when the teacher will give all the necessary elements to his students, useful vocabulary, grammatical explanation, and tips to understand the topic they're currently reviewing. Finally, we end with the testing stage, when the students are given another task to complete. The only difference is that this time they perfectly know what they're intended to do. So they use their already acquired language tools to solve a problem. Let's look at an English class designed this way. Today, Mrs. Brady is teaching the past simple. To teach her students understand the topic to its fullest, she will hand in a short extract from the book or the novel To Kill a Mockingbird to her students. This extract was carefully chosen, so most of the phrases use the simple past form. Upon giving everyone a copy, she will ask her students to underline the words that they find both on the board and on the paragraph of the novel. Mrs. Brady will show a list of verbs in the past form for everyone to see. Mrs. Brady will teach the past simple, explaining the grammatical side of it. She will explain that all those verbs she showed were, in fact, verbs used in the form of the past simple. So unknowingly, her students have just identified and underlined verbs in the past form. Finally, towards the end of the lesson, Mrs. Brady will ask students to write 10 sentences using the past simple, where they summarize key idea. I thought that would be summarize, where they summarize key ideas from the extract. She will make sure that all the phrases given are her new phrases, not phrases taken from the original text. Okay, we won't do Kahoot yet. Before we continue, I think this is a very common method. Before I ask you guys if you have any experience with it in class, I would like to share you mine. I like to work with music, evidently, and I use this very often with teaching students new vocabulary words. I hand them the list of the lyrics of a certain song. The song's difficulty depends on the class's level. And I usually give them blank spaces and I take off words, just leave a blank space. And I ask the students, most likely you don't know the words. This is not a test. I would just like to see how you feel about this, and we're going to do this and don't get nervous. And I play the song and I ask them, fill in the blank with whatever word you think you listened. If you don't understand the word or you don't understand the song, don't worry. But if you think you heard happy or you heard a run or whatever word, just write it down. If it's incorrect, there's no problem. No worry. And after they listen to the song the first time and they fill in the blanks, I have them sit together in a circle and we talk. And I ask them, what do you think was the first word? And what do you think was this one? And maybe they got it right and maybe they got it wrong. We don't talk about it. We just say, oh, well, this is what you suggested. Okay, that's fine. This is what he said. And then after that, I give them in a projector, I show them a slide with a box of word randomly ordered that are the word that should be in the blanks for the song. And I play the song again, paragraph per paragraph. I'm constantly stopping the song. I might rewind a little bit and then play the part again just for them to listen each part of the song. And then, you know, I play the song, they look at the word box, they answer now more precisely because they saw words and then they're, oh, okay, yeah, I'm listening to this and it sounds like box. Yeah, okay. And I write it down. After the first time we do this and they answer with the words correctly because they saw the word box, then we start talking about the meanings of the words. And are you familiar with this word? Well, this word is whatever the definition of the word is. And we go through all the boxes, we finish the song, and then I make them sing the song very many times to work on their pronunciation. So this is a very simple way. I think we have this very often, it's just a small test. We just, as teachers, have to be conscious that when we give them this first test thing to assess how they're doing or how much knowledge they have of what we're talking about, the challenge would be not to make our students feel intimidated or that there's something wrong because they don't know what we are going to learn them. That would be our biggest challenge. Anybody else would like to share an experience using this method in their class? I'm very sure you have used it. What about the boys? Alejandro, go ahead. Alejandro, were you going to share something?
Yeah, I having like troubles, internet connection troubles,
Okay.
but I think okay right now. Well, I don't used to work. Well, I didn't used to work with Kahoot, but I can remember that platform. But it's kind of the same thing because we post some like activities and they were like it was like a competition between them because as they choose the correct option, they were like getting points and all the class could see the points of like how do you say scoreboard?
Scoreboard.
Scoreboard, yeah, they were like competing between them and it was by time, so they got like 3 minutes to answer an activity, so they were in a hurry to finish like quickly, right?
Yeah.
And I like I really love that way because they get involved on that topic or even in the activity, and that's it. That's all that I wanted to share.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Alejandro. Anybody else has anything to share about
Oh,
this method?
that page was quizzes, something like that. Yeah,
It's
quizzes.
the sorry, 1 second, test. It's a test, teach, test approach.
No, I was talking about the platform that I use.
Oh, the Kahoot platform.
No, its name is quizzes or quizzes.
Ah, okay. I never heard that platform. Okay.
It is Q-I-Z, quizzes.
Oh, okay. 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 I'll try that one. I'm going to Google it. Okay. Anybody else that would like to share?
Lorena,
Yes, Eduardo.
I know that for using Kahoot, you need to use a cell phone.
I actually am not sure about this Kahoot thingy. I
Okay.
don't think I've ever used it.
Because in the past, I was doing an activity, and you need to use a cell phone, because this app, you should use it in your cell phone, and you should answer in your cell phone. So in the elementary school, in the public elementary school, cell phones are not allowed.
Yeah.
So it's going to be so difficult to do it. In fact, in the the private schools too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's so useful.
Well, I'm not very familiar with Kahoot because of the same thing. We don't have, but I was mostly asking about this method. If you have used the teach test method in your
Okay.
class,
Okay.
not the Kahoot. And it seems that, yeah, who wanted to say something?
I was sharing my experience sometimes
Mhm.
before the COVID situation. We used to work making a recipe at school, and first I showed the students different flashcards with images about eggs and a pot and a pan, oil, and things like that. And they started to guessing what was that, and suddenly they were like, "Oh, fried eggs! Oh, blah blah blah." So I give them the choice to make teams or work individually to a recipe that they use at home or that they have ever eat or search in the web for that activity, for that recipe, and they try to give a recipe. They make a presentation with that.
Okay, that's good.
They do they cook, maybe not something with fire, but some things that prepare like sandwich or things like that, and they share between the students, their classmates. And finally, when I show them again at the end of the project, the flashcards again, they start making an order with that flashcard. They don't need anymore the words from each vocabulary. They already know them.
Exactly.
And they know some parts of the recipe, like direction or sorry, instructions, and they can also remember and tell, oh, do you remember when he or she did that thing, or happened this thing, or your sandwich was awful, or something like that. It's very creative for them because they start creating the information just from a flashcard.
Exactly. That's a very good example. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, and flashcards, they often just by looking at the picture, they realize that they already know the word, and that might give them an extra bit of confidence and to participate and to feel better in English class, especially since most children are like, I don't like English class. I used to have a teacher, and I'm going to give this example. This was not an English class. This was a teacher that I had in college. And I think that this method, teach test, can be very useful, but we do have to be very careful as teachers. And I think that the way this professor used it wasn't very efficient. During the whole semester, he would give us books. The week would start and he would give us a book. And this would be the first day of the semester. Read the book, and that's it. And then on Monday, next Monday, and these were big books about theories and a lot of things that you had to memorize and understand, and they were complicated lectures. And you had to read and you know, some sort of understand all these topics that you definitely needed a teacher to guide you first. And next Monday you would come in and he'd say, you have a test about the book that you just read. And because you read it, and you are allowed to answer the test with your book open, but you have to answer the test. And that was Monday. And everybody was, I remember all my classmates were very frustrated because these were, as I said, they were very complicated books. They were not easy to read and the subject matter was very advanced. And that would be Monday and everybody was very frustrated. And that same Monday, he would say, and for this week, we'll start with this book. And he would give us another big reading for the week. And I remember saying, oh, well, he's going to explain the past book and this new book that he's giving us. And nope. After the test on Tuesday, he would start explaining the book we just had a test on. And that was a huge shock for most of us in that class. The week would pass and we would ask the teacher, like, are you going to explain the book that we're going to have a test for next Monday? And he'd say, no, you are going to read it and you are going to use your brain and you're going to rationalize what you're reading. And next Monday you have a test. And after the test, I'm going to explain the book to you. And we did this the whole semester. A lot of my classmates hated the class. They dropped out or they flunked. I did well, thankfully, but I remember most of my classmates being very stressed and very demoralized. So, and for some of us, at least for me, I felt it like a challenge and I was like, well, I can do this, but that's my personality. For other people, it was just a no-no. So it's just reminding you as teachers to remember that, especially since we're working with foreign language, students can feel insecure, and yes, we have to test them, but let's always remember that it's very important to have our students feel comfortable in class and not frustrate them so that they keep going and, you know, have a positive experience with learning. On that note, should I continue with the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, let's do one more and then I'm going to give you a short break so that you can go drink some water, bathroom, whatever you need. Okay, so before we continue, you've read all the different methods for English teaching. We have our second task of this section will be connected to the third task. Upload a mind map or a connect map about all the methods presented. You have a lot of homework, guys. Try to be as clear as possible. Make sure you do it on PowerPoint or on whatever software you choose. And you can use it for task 3. Okay, go ahead and read task 3 so it is correctly done and it works well for it. Sorry about that. Okay, task number 3, present your map on a video. You can Zoom on your computer or video recorder. You can use Zoom or the computer or the recorder from your computer. You're going to explain each method in your video and you're going to give an example for each. How do you apply each technique? And at the end, you're going to sum up telling us which is your favorite method and which one is your least favorite. Okay? So this is homework. You're going to do it some other time. Let's continue.
Perfect. So I can't wait to see your video explaining us how you can use each of the methods, how they are different between each of them, which one's your favorite and which one's your least favorite. How would you apply it? Okay, we want to know. So let's go on to acquisition and learning of English of a second language. So the second language acquisition refers to the process through which someone acquires one or more second or foreign language. What does it mean, acquire? How is it different from learning? Well, when you acquire it, you stop translating, you stop thinking in your first language to then make it the second language. You start thinking in this new language and you acquire it, okay? So for that, we're going to learn the difference between language 1 and language 2. We're going to see what has second acquisition taught us according to Rod Ellis. what is that you need the instruction to be. Okay, and we're also going to do an activity, and you're going to see the next video when I present the activity for you.
Oh, sorry.
Perfect. So I can't.
Okay, let's continue with the presentation. One more topic and then a small break. Acquisition and learning of English as a second language. What is second language acquisition? It refers to the process through which someone acquires one or more second or foreign language. Are you familiar with these languages over here?
Yes.
What language is hola?
Spanish,
Bonjour.
French.
Francais,
I'm sorry, what, Eduardo?
French.
French,
Hello
English.
French,
and Guten Tag.
German.
Alemán,
German.
Germany.
German, very good. Thank you, guys. Let's continue. Does anybody else speak another language aside from English and Spanish?
Ni hao ma.
I'm sorry, what, Nancy?
Ni hao ma. I like Chinese.
Ooh, you like Chinese?
Yeah.
That's nice. How fluent are you in Chinese?
Ooh, first level.
First level, okay, but you're
Yes.
learning.
Yes, I like it.
Ooh, good. That's
It's
interesting.
very difficult, but I like it.
I could imagine. It's very different from what we're used to. Anybody else speaks a third language?
French.
French? Okay, Dalia, very good. How fluent are you in French?
Well, when I was at the university, I was in level B1,
Mhm.
and now I'm in A1.
Me too. I stopped at B1 level, and then right now, if you ask me, I'm like, well, I remember how to say my name. Very basic French. Anybody else another language? Okay, what's the difference between language 1 and language 2? Your first language, which would be L1. When we learn our first language as a baby, we continue to build our language as we grow older and learn different kinds of language and language skills. Babies and children are surrounded by their first language. They are constantly provided with opportunities to use the language and to experiment with the language as they are learning it. And they receive constant praise and encouragement for their efforts. Therefore, we can establish that babies and children learn language by acquiring it through exposure and by picking it up. The second language, or the L2, as we get older, we might start learning a second language. Second language learners do not usually hear or read more than 3 or 4 hours a week of the second language, so they do not have much exposure to the language. Second language learners, like L1 learners, do learn language by acquiring it through exposure, but they are more likely to learn language in a classroom, and the language they learn is selected by teachers. They learn by interacting with the teacher and with other learners, and by using language in controlled practice activities. What has second acquisition taught us, according to Rod Ellis? The instruction of the language needs to be formulaic expressions and rule-based competence. It needs to focus predominantly on the meaning. It needs to ensure that learners also focus on form, to be predominantly directed at developing implicit knowledge of the second language while not neglecting explicit knowledge. And it should take into account, the learner's built-in syllabus. Let's scroll down. It also needs to be successfully instructed language learning. Successful instructed language learning requires an extensive second language input. Successful instructed language learning also requires opportunities for output. The opportunity to interact in the second language is central to developing the second language proficiency. Instruction needs to take account of individual differences in learners. In assessing learners' second language proficiency, it is important to examine free as well as controlled production. Questions so far?
Yes, sir. Conclusion. International language activation in free research that belongs to linguistics.
Dalia, did you want to add something? Or who was trying to say something?
Sorry, I'm reading.
Oh, okay, don't worry. I thought you wanted to add something, don't worry. So in conclusion, the second language acquisition is a field of research that belongs to linguistics and applied linguistics. There are several concepts and results in research that inform English language teaching. We have discussed this in the chapter of the concepts of the first language and second language, as well as 10 principles that determine the successful instruction of a language. Activities. Okay, before we start the activities, do you guys want to take a 5-minute break?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so I have, it's 5:34, right? Or is that what time? Well,
Here is 6:34.
6:34.
6:34. Okay, so I'll see you guys at 6:40.
Okay, thank
Thank you, guys. Go to the bathroom, take some water. Are you guys back?
Yes,
Okay.
present.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, guys. So there's an activity that we have to do. I'm going to divide you guys in groups. And let's see how many were at the end before we continue. You're going to discuss the questions. Where and when did you start learning your second language? What do you think are some of the difficulties in learning a second language? Are these the same as the difficulties children have when learning its first language? And why do you think is the best? What do you think is this the best age to start learning a second language? Sorry. And then you're going to write true or false for each statement and correct the false ones. Although learning languages seem to respond to praise and encouragement, and it helps them to develop their language skills, you're going to answer that in your groups. Children don't need to be constantly corrected. They need to experiment and to play with language. Children will not listen and process language and will speak fast. And adult learners do not need some controlled practice and focus on form. This is one of the activities that you're going to do. You're going to write them over here, but I still want you to do them in groups. Here's where you're going to answer your questions, okay? All this part. And how many are we in the class right now? You guys are, okay, Eduardo had to leave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What happened to everybody else? Nancy, Jorge, Yasmin, Oscar.
Here, present.
Eduardo had to. Oscar is there. Who is missing? Eduardo's here. Jorge, Yasmin.
Here.
Okay, Marco had to leave. And Alejandro, you're there. Okay. Alejandro left as well. Okay, I'm gonna check with them. So let's separate you in some breakout groups. Let's see. We are going to do 2 breakout rooms. Assign automatically. Okay, room number 1, we're having Dalia, Jorge, and Oscar. Jorge and Oscar, are you there?
I'm here. Yes.
Perfect. And room number 2, Eduardo had to stand up a little. I don't know if he's back, but Jasmine and Nancy are there. So Eduardo should be back in any second. Okay. This is a short activity. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes tops. Okay. So have those questions answered, have a small talk. When we're done with the activity, we're going to talk about what you guys concluded and also answer the true false questions on your platform. Okay. Questions before we start?
Can you put
No.
again the questions, please?
Sure. I
Thank you.
will share my screen again. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's go ahead. You have the invitation. Go ahead and join your groups. Oscar, I just joined you to room number 2. They're doing an activity, so if you could join, accept the invitation, please.
Listening.
Hey guys, do you need more time?
Excuse me?
Do
I
you
can
need
hear.
more time?
Well,
No. Well,
we
we didn't
did.
finish. We have only 3 questions. I mean, well, I guess I don't know how many there are. I don't
Is
remember what.
missing the true or false
Oh yeah,
activity.
Oh,
those
you're
are
you're
missing.
still doing the true or false?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please give us some more time.
Okay,
Eh,
I'll give you 5 more minutes. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
Just checking. You're welcome. Let me go. How do I leave this room? 1 second. I'm still learning breakout rooms. One
Yeah, I don't.
second.
Okay, I'm trying. What's your name? Sorry.
Lorena.
Lorena, I'm trying to use my computer, but oh well, as you can see me, I'm in the phone and I'm on the computer at the same time,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know how to be in the room with what's your name, lady? Nadia, or I don't know. Who I was talking to? Who was in the group here in the
Dalia
room?
and Natalie.
Dalia. Yeah, Dalia. Dalia is so I wanna turn the meeting in my computer.
Uh-huh.
So I don't have it there. And then I was with Jorge, and then I don't know who.
Oh, right now you're in a breakout room.
Okay, um, yeah, but I want to do it in my computer because
Oh,
I can hear here in my cell
your
phone.
phone?
Because
Okay, I
the
understand.
volume doesn't work very well.
Okay, I understand. Well, we'll try to be as clear as possible so that you don't have issues. And if something happens, just let me know, okay? I'm gonna
Okay,
give you guys 5 more minutes. Let me see how they're doing in room number 2.
okay, thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Okay.
By using by using
Hey, guys.
some
Hello.
Yeah,
How are you doing? Do you need more time?
we finished already.
You're finished with the true or false?
No,
Do the true or false also, okay?
okay,
Sorry, I'll give you 5 more minutes. Don't worry, the other group needed 5 more minutes as well.
okay,
Sorry. Okay.
bye.
Let me go back and leave the breakout rooms. One question. Sorry. How do I leave here? Okay. I think I do. No, I don't want to join. ¿Cómo me salgo?
Yo me salí y ya no volví a entrar, por eso no quería entrar así.
A ver. Okay, primero que nada, okay, let me Alejandro, okay, I sent Alejandro to this, and I can't leave. Okay, breakout rooms. Ah, how do I go to the main one? How do I leave here?
Pero díganos dónde, teacher, por si yo también me salgo. Así me pasó la otra vez.
Si te sales, te deja volver a entrar porque ya tienes la invitación, pero ahora yo no
Ok.
sé cómo salirme, irme a la parte principal.
Parte de arriba donde dice Room 2, creo que le puede dar en la flechita hacia abajo y ahí le da la opción, ¿no?
Ah,
Plus, no.
no, porque si le pongo acá, me dice me dice que si me quiero meter a este room y no quiero, me quiero salir. A ver, cierro. Ah, leave room. Bye.
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 Living room.
I don't know if I internet, but I can hear nobody.
Hello? You guys get about 1 or 2 more minutes for the exercise. Some people just joined. Ready, guys? See you in the main room. Perfect.
No.
Um,
Okay, teacher.
now.
We're finished.
Okay, see you in the main room.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
we'll pull up.
Bye.
Okay, guys, let's share your conclusions on the activities. Let's see. So we divided the class in 2 groups. You can participate however way you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be as a group, but if you guys want to choose a speaker for each group, that'd be fine. So for the first question, where and when did you start learning your second language? What did your groups have in common?
In my case, I studied English when I was a kid, like 8 years old, and that's it.
Okay. What about the people in your group? Did they have a similar situation or was it a different experience for them?
And my partner has she studied in, I can say the name or no? Of the school?
Yeah, sure.
Inglés Individual, when she was, I think, 14 or 16 years old.
Okay.
And we're talking about the skills about that she learned in the school. It's like an example when I study as a child was very different. Right now, when you are a teenager, your skills are very different, like listening, reading, writing, conversation. We'll talk about that.
Exactly.
So my partner wanna talk.
Okay. Your partner was Dalia?
No, was
I was Jasmine.
yeah.
Jasmine. Sorry, and I've been calling you Jasmine. I have a friend that is Jasmine, that's why. Okay, Jasmine, do you want to share your experience?
Yeah, well, it was very grateful for me to hear the different information that they experienced during their life, how they learn English, when they did learn English, and why they wanted to learn English. I guess every one of us has a different goal to learn, why to learn. And for example, the importance of try to remember how we learn in order to make our lesson plans, because when we are younger and kids, we have another interest than we have now. And sometimes we can forget about that. And also we talk about the skills, how she said, that right now maybe are better than when we were younger, because when we were younger, we didn't have the importance to some specific competences that now as teachers we need to have who can teach and so on. Also, we talk about how correct kids when they make mistakes. I shared that when I learned, or my teachers, all of them, all the time correct me everything, but always they did as a tender or lovely way. They say, "Oh, dear, that word doesn't say like that. You can use this other word," and even the tone, the way they use the words they use feels, on one hand, love, and the other hand, the care that they have for me in order to learn. They were worried about my learning process, and that made me feel secure, and that made me, I don't know, creating me a compromise to learn something right. And learning was, Alejandro was talking about when he learns, their families, his relatives were in America, and that was the goal for him to communicate with them. So I guess I learned this time that it's important for me to ask my students why they want to learn, and don't forget that every time I make a lesson plan.
Very good. That was very, very good. Very interesting. I forgot the word in English. Aportación. Do you remember that word, the translation? Well, what you added to our class was very interesting. Thank you, Jasmine.
You're welcome.
My brain froze for a second and I can't remember how to say it. Okay, what about room number 2? What did you guys conclude about all these questions? Who would like to speak for room number 2? Hello.
Well, yes. Oscar and I start to study English when we were shy, but more formal at secondary school.
Okay.
And then we improved at university.
Okay, very good. What else did you conclude about the other questions?
Okay, we conclude that children do not care about mistakes. So they can be equal the difficulties between learning a first language and learning a second language.
Okay. So we do agree that it's easier to learn a second language when we're younger, right?
Yeah.
Although we do have different interests and different things we focus on according to age.
The only problem that I see, teacher, when I was a kid learning, for me was a kind of shock when change your teacher.
Oh,
It's a problem. I see that, and the problem is for us as a child.
yeah. New teachers can be quite shocking, new methods, new pronunciation.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, very good. Through all my life, I've while teaching and while learning this language, my experience, I didn't realize that I was learning a second language because my mom made it very important that our house was completely bilingual, even when my mom and dad did not speak fluent English. Since I was very small, I hardly ever watched TV in Spanish, which is very common because I live very close to the United States. So for us in Sonora, it's very, very common to have a lot of channels in English. When I was younger, it was even much more common than right now. So everything in my life was in English. I didn't realize it just came in through a channel that was, I understand what is happening. And I had the opportunity to go to the bicultural school that my daughter is at right now and where I started teaching. And I am noticing this with her now, that she is starting her preschool stage, how she is going through the same thing. We also made sure that everything in my house was in English. I lived in the United States for a while. I went to college in the United States. So we decided that we were going to use that bicultural thing that I experienced while raising my daughter. And I sometimes, without realizing it, I ask her things in English and I say things in English but it's because most of my life I've been teaching English or I've been speaking English. But I do have to say that while I started teaching and when I started learning how to teach English, I learned a whole new different set of skills and new things about the language, especially the importance of grammar, things that I took for granted and that I did not understand why we have to say things in a certain way, that I learned automatically in English because it was just being repeated and it just engraved in my brain. Now that I got older, I understand, well, this is why, because I'm speaking in the past and this is how you formulate the sentence. And you also have to make sure that there's different kinds of learners, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I agree with you guys. I think the best stage for learning is when we're younger, but that does not make us, that doesn't make it impossible to learn a second language, even if you are older or you have older students. Does anybody else have anything else they would like to add? No?
Nope.
Guys, Eduardo, Natalie, Cynthia, Oscar.
No, we're okay. Thank you.
I want you to speak. Okay, guys. Oscar, did you change your mind?
I was saying, I want to say that we're like adults, so we don't need to be praised because we had to achieve a goal, and that is our praising. And I like kids because kids need to be praised. Oh, you're doing good, you're doing well, and that's the difference.
I disagree a little bit on that. I do think that as adults, we need that praise and that congratulations thing. Anybody else have a different?
Well, it's motivating, but we're not expecting to be praised.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand you. Yeah, because we're more responsible and we understand that we have to do it because we want to be better in life. Okay, thank you, Oscar. Thank you. Nancy, do you want to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, we have 40 minutes left. Let's continue. Let's go with the presentation. Okay, so you guys did the true and false. I hope that you answered the questions in your platform. If you haven't, please do so. This is where you put the true or false answers. You just send it, and let's go to the same next subject, which is classroom management. Okay, classroom management strategies. The quality of teacher-student relationships is the keystone for all other aspects of classroom management. The important characteristics to consider if we want to manage a classroom successfully are the following. We need to have appropriate levels of dominance. We have to establish a clear behaviors of what we're expecting and the learning goals by exhibiting assertive behavior. Remember, you are the boss of your classroom. Even if you're working with adults, they have to understand you are the boss, even if you are the same age as they are, or if you are younger than them, which has happened to me. Believe me, even if that happens, if they see that you are in complete dominance of what you are teaching, and if they see that you're standing up in front of them secure, even though you're 18 and they're 40, 50, 60 years old, they will respect you and they will listen to what you're saying. Another important characteristic would be appropriate levels of cooperation. Exhibit appropriate levels of cooperation by establishing flexible learning goals, taking personal interest in the students, and by using equitable and positive classroom behaviors. Awareness of high-need students. Although teachers are not expected to solve problems, emotional or social problems, that some students might be influenced by, they will manage better the classroom if they have such techniques to deal with them. Don't leave relationships to chance, okay, guys? As this picture we see over here, which is really cute, we have the teacher, and she is nurturing the flower pots that we see in these students. This would be their brains and their knowledge. Us as teachers, we have to make sure that we nourish and that we encourage them to keep learning and be happy and smiling, just like the kids in the picture. The learner's motivation. Motivation is considered key to learning a second language, and it seems to be the biggest single factor affecting language learner success. Learner motivation can be considered as students' desire to participate in the language process. When I was teaching at the courses at the school that I studied at, I taught the EFL classes to people who enrolled because they wanted to learn English. So they had that motivation, and actually it just made class much easier. As for some of you guys that I see that you teach at public schools and you teach children, some of them might not want to take English class, or they might not have interest in the class, but they are forced to take the subject. So you guys have to work a little bit extra on keep those learners motivated. And that is quite a challenge. Types of motivations we can identify, as well as some factors that influence them. We have extrinsic motivation, which would be the external factors that make the student want to do something. For example, parents, teachers, friends, and their previous learning. And we also have the intrinsic learning, which would be the internal factors that make the student want to do something. They're not forced, they're doing it on their own, which would be the factors would be, physical conditions, teacher, and their teaching methods. The learner's needs. Successful teachers manage to balance what learners want, what they actually need, and what their syllabus requires. Davies in 2006 defined learners' needs as the gap between the learner's current level of knowledge and the skills and the level of knowledge and skills required to perform a task. And of course, as you may know, we have different types of learners. Learners and teachers are different in various ways. Gaining knowledge on students' learning styles can be very helpful for both the teachers and the learners. Involving learners in the active process, of learning requires identifying and understanding learners' learning styles. So we have three different learning styles. As you already know, we have the cognitive, the personality, and the sensory. The cognitive learners are analytical and global. They are field dependent or independent, and they are impulsive or reflective. If their personality is the base of their learning style, they are extroverted or introverted. They are randomly intuitive or concrete sequential. And and closure oriented or open oriented. And finally, the sensory, they have the visual, the kinesthetic, and the auditory students. I am very visual. And I also am a little bit of auditory. It is in the teacher's best interest to identify the styles in each student to better tailor their class, therefore maximizing the students' engagement and avoiding disruptions. Activity time. Fill the charts with some ideas from what you could implement in your class. And you're going to create a small mind map with the main ideas from the chapter. The aspect would be appropriate levels of dominance, appropriate levels of cooperation, and dealing with high maintenance students. And you're going to develop a small action that you can do in your class, okay? And afterwards, after that, you're going to create the mind map with the main ideas from the chapter. I would like you guys to do this in groups as well. Let me see how many are online right now. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we're going to try to do smaller groups. Is everybody, just to make sure that everybody's online, can you guys just say hi? Because I don't see.
Present.
Okay, so
Hi.
Nancy,
Hi.
Aline,
Here.
Maria,
Yeah.
Dalia, and Eduardo, are you back?
Hello, where are you?
I think Eduardo hasn't come back. He'll have to message that he had to deal with something. So I'm going to separate you in groups of 2. And we're going to leave.
All together, teacher.
You want to do it all together?
We are few.
Are you sure? You guys want to do it together?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine with me. Okay.
Okay.
So this is, well, there's 2 activities. I think I can give you, is 10 minutes okay?
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead, 10 minutes. If you need anything, guys, raise your hand, let me know. I'm gonna mute my computer.
So we're going to work here. Okay. Okay, we have to turn on the microphone. Appropriate left dominance, appropriate left cooperation.
You said you guys wanted to do it all together as a class, so go ahead, everybody unmute your microphones.
Yeah,
Nancy is the only one talking.
yeah, like a parrot.
It's okay, Nancy.
Teacher, I have a question.
Sure.
In my class, I have like a 2 or 3 child with autism,
Okay.
and it's not hard for me, but they are very imperative. So
Yeah.
I have to work with one of them like 10 or 5 minutes because I can put all my
¿Ya volvieron?
No, attention.
all my
Es que-
attention for that kid. So
Ajá.
there's
Amor,
another kind
¿O
of
escuchaba llantos? Ah,
Dalia, can you mute your phone, please? Your phone, your Zoom, please?
I'm not gossipy, but
Okay, so continue, please, Nancy.
so what activity I can teach these kids? I have some I see that they love bingo
Mhm.
activities like I don't know what's the thing that like a pop. I don't know what's the
Yeah,
name.
the puppets, uh-huh.
The puppets. So I don't know another way to introduce this child in the group because I don't like to separate the group. I mean, I want the child to introduce him in with other kids. No?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. There's another activity or something to give it to me like for these kids. I don't know because I don't know much about the
Mhm.
autism.
Yeah, I'm going to have to confess, I don't have experience working with childs with special needs. I worked with children for about maybe 2-3 years, and that was a long time ago. So I really do not have experience. Most of my practice has been with students from college, the students, high school students, and when they were in as their English teacher for their high school, and college students, as with English, their English classes in their major, but in courses as EFL teachers. But with children, I hardly ever had any experience. I was actually offered a position where I could work in a classroom that had 2 kids with Down syndrome, and it didn't happen. So I'm going to ask my peers that have more experience with children and with children in special needs, and ask
Or a web or something where I can
Yeah.
learn, or I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna ask, and I promise I'll give you that information during the week. But yeah, as I said in the very beginning, I have a big preference of working with adults.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
You're welcome. Okay, well, it seems that everybody wanted to do the activity individually. So go ahead, Nancy, do it individually. Everybody just do it on their own. And when we're done, we'll share
Okay.
what you guys wrote down by yourselves. We've been working on it for 5 minutes. I'm gonna give you 6-7 extra minutes more.
I think for the first activity where it says like appropriate levels of dominance, an action that we can work with is to, like Nancy says yesterday, have a daily routine where you all the time go to the classroom, say hello, good morning, good afternoon, ask something about them, then ask them how the day is going for them, how do they feel with the class and the day in the school, if they have a meeting or something, or as a lunch. And that makes them to realize that they're in English class and that you already has something to talk about and that you had the topic also. And another action that we can do is like have information and the topic well studied, because right now I have some, I don't know how to call them in English, practicantes, new
interns.
Okay, what's the name? Sorry, interns. Yes, that's right. So they are with some words that they do mistakes when they write it down on the board. Sometimes the students ask them and they don't know how to explain, and that makes the students start like, oh, I don't want to have this class, I don't want to pay attention, the teacher doesn't know that what am I asking for. And it's important that we have we prepare not only for the lesson plan that we plan. I'm sorry about the redundancy, but the beyond, because there could be some situations that we have to be prepared for, or as you said yesterday, have the opportunity to tell them, I'm not sure about this information, for tomorrow I'm gonna give you the answer. And that also makes us be secure about the topic, and they know that we know. So they start learning and confidence about that they are going to learn something from a professional person.
Exactly. Very good. Thank you. So that would be Jasmine's contribution to the appropriate levels of dominance. Does anybody else have anything they would like to add for that aspect? Nope. Nobody has the first one yet? Okay, I'm gonna give you guys. Okay, go ahead.
And do a diagnostic test, it could be a tool to know the level. Yes or no?
You're breaking up a little. Can you repeat that again? Because I didn't understand what you're trying to say.
Okay. Doing a diagnostic test to know the level.
The level of dominance of your students.
Yes.
Okay, I think that would work on letting them know that you are the dominant character in the classroom. Okay, anybody else would like to add something else?
I have in my classroom 3 kinds of level for the kids.
Okay.
And see some different ways to learn for 3 levels that I see the students are low or high.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, so you separate them according to their level of dominant of dominating in the language. Okay. Very good. Anybody else, or do you want to go to the appropriate levels of cooperation?
Teacher Lorena?
Yes, go ahead, Natalie.
Me too. I do like a traffic light, and I have the color green, red, and yellow. And it works. It really works because I have kids that had age 6 years, 7 years, and they really like it.
Okay.
And we use it like that.
For what activity do you use the traffic light?
For the levels of dominance or
Okay.
when they are prepared.
Okay. Can you give me an example? Like, what do you do when you have the red light?
When they are in the red light, they need to well, I have books in the classroom.
Okay.
And we practice reading most like 5 or 10 minutes. And I do it with groups, and the ones that are in the color green help the ones that are in the color red, and they read to them, and the others listen, and they have like a car, and you can get books home. I don't know how to say, like préstamo, or
like a library where you borrow the books. Okay.
yes, and that motivate using that activity.
Good. And you know what? That's also a very smart way to work with the aspect of levels of cooperation. That's a very good strategy and action that you can do in class, because you're helping the other students are working with helping students that may not have the same level as proficiency in English. So I think that's a very smart way to work. Very good. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, teacher.
Anybody else would like to add something for the appropriate levels of cooperation? Nope, nobody?
With some stickers or of happy face.
Okay, can you elaborate, please?
An example, when I told them, okay, you're going to pass to the front and tell me the numbers and with number and with word. I give it a happy face sticker. But if you have a bad behavior, I change the happy face for the angry face. Okay. So they have a good behavior because they want to keep the happy face and show them to their parents. So it's kind of cooperation for them, for me, or vice versa.
Vice versa.
Vice versa.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, and finally, for dealing with high maintenance students, difficult students, the ones that have the attitude, what actions have you taken in class? The stickers that Nancy mentioned was a good action to do in class. Anything else? Nancy, do you want to say something?
Yes, in the classroom, I give some material or some material is in the classroom. So I tell them, the kids, to keep the materials clean. I don't know, it's about that or.
High maintenance is a synonym for difficult students.
Okay.
So that's why I was saying that the stickers are a good way to work.
Okay.
So high maintenance is just a person that needs a lot of attention and maintenance for them to do the work.
It's like the way that I told you about the kids with needs.
It could be, yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Mhm.
It could also be with students that are reluctant to work, that don't want to be in the classroom, that don't want to participate, that are having a bad attitude and things like that.
You know, I have some kids kind of sickness. I don't know if it's correct to say sickness, because I think it's not, because they have some kids with pills to control something. I don't know what kind of sicknesses have, no?
I'm not
And don't participate, or when they don't take their pills, they are very, I don't know how to say, like, not crazy, but very imperative, no? Is the correct way. So it's the way that I
that you
can
control
think is the high maintenance.
with this, okay, with the stickers. Anybody else would like to add a strategy, an action that they do in class with dealing with high maintenance students?
Well, in my case, I would used to sit in front of the class and inviting them to participate no matter what. And I think they need to be motivated, because that's why they're making disasters there. And they need to be loved. I mean, well, they need to be like, we care about them. That's why they need to be, they need to feel we care about them.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, I would sit in front of him, invited to participate. That's what I do.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. You give them special attention and you invite them to participate. Thank you very much. That's a very good strategy as well. Anybody else would like to add something else so we can go to the next chapter?
Me.
Yes, go ahead, Dalia.
Yes, with those students that are imperative or difficult, like autism, and you give them a role. Something that they know that they have to do. Like, you are my assistant. So he knows that he will help you to give the piece of paper to the others, and they behave well sometimes.
Thank you, Dalia.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, you gave really good examples of your work strategies. I'm proud of you guys. Thank you. So the second part of the activity, you're going to do this on your own. If you already if you already did it, sorry, upload it to your platform. If not, please do it later and upload it in the following area, okay, of the platform. So here's where you're going to answer your actions that you just mentioned. And over here, you will upload the picture of the mind map that you created. Okay, so we have 15 minutes left. Let's finish with these subjects. The effective use of teachers' resources. Teachers' resources.
Sorry,
Material.
teacher.
Sorry, huh?
Sorry. What am I gonna write those answers?
Over here. Do you have access to your platform, Oscar?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I'm going to, okay, you need to get in touch with Rosalba.
Teacher, we can send you screenshots or pictures.
But I do need to give you her email address. Just hold on one second. And
Me too.
please get in touch with Rosalba if you don't have access to your platform, because you need to upload everything to the platform to get the certification. There's also exams that you need to take. So make sure that you have this solved as soon as possible. So it's academic.management at Oxford Education, lit.
Me too, teacher.
1 second, lit dot. 1 second, let me flip this over. Oxford Education, second, oh, there you go. Oxford Education lit.org. Did I write it correctly? Academic.management. Yes, Oxford Education. Yes, that's the email. That's for Rosalba Salcido. And just let her know, that you need access to your platform to take the ETC course. And ask her if she can solve that issue for you as soon as possible. So I'm showing you, Oscar, what your platform would look like.
Okay.
So
Okay.
here's where you would, add the aspect, levels of dominance. This would be your action in class. You would type it over here, and then you would send the answer. And the course administrators will be checking your work. And, they give you activities like this every few subjects. You're going to upload the mind map over here. It's going to be an image, and you're going to send it this way. Okay. Do you guys have any questions about the platform? The same material, everything is in the platform. I'm using the same thing that you have access to. Okay, so let's finish. The teacher's resources. Material do not only work as a gateway for the content, but also to explore the culture and norms of the students in our classrooms. Science and et al., everything else who he was working with, in 2009, categorized teaching resources into 3: traditional, audiovisual, and technology. In this chapter, we shall discuss the audiovisual and technological resources ELT teachers can use. The audiovisual aids. Oh, I remember when we had to push around. Did you guys get to push around the TV in a little cart?
No.
No, I did. I had to do that. I had the big TVs in a little cart, un carrito, and I pushed the TV to the classroom. I started teaching when I was very young. Okay.
To the
Huh?
classroom.
Yes?
Or bring TV to the classroom.
Yeah, I
Tell your
had to
students
take TV
they
too.
are stronger, so the television, please.
Yes, I had to do that and take the DVD player. At least it wasn't the VHS player. It was a DVD player. I'm not that old. But I had to push the cart around. Okay, so electronic appliances commonly used in the classroom, the projector, the audio player, the video player, and the camera, have been labeled as the audiovisual technologies, or AVTs, in order to distinguish them from what we today are called the ITC, which we will discuss this in the next section, which involve mainly the use of computers and networks. We should not listen to a tape or watch a video without any particular aim, but as an aid to improve the student's learning process. There should be a close connection with daily classroom work and the student needs and interests. That's why we choose movies that are related to what we're teaching, that can be adapted to the subject matter we're teaching, and that are relatable to the age of our students. Same thing with songs, etc. Advantages and disadvantages from different forms of audiovisual resources. For example, the first resource would be the projector. The projector shows pictures as a warm-up at the beginning of the lesson. You can present the objectives of the lesson, and you can present videos to the class. What are the requirements? The skills the teacher must know. The teacher must know how to use and install the projector. And of course, you need electricity. If you are wanting to use an audio projector, which would be a speaker and a tape recorder, you use these to play the audio recordings from the book, and you can use it to play music while students work independently. You require electricity and the materials in a format that is compatible with the audio player. And of course, the material that is compatible with teaching. That's very important as well. The video player, DVD and TV. It plays video that comes with the textbook. Most textbooks from past stages have their own DVDs. Some of them now allow you to download them online or on their platforms, but in the past we had textbooks that came with their DVDs. And you play movies as part of the listening exercises. You require electricity and the material in a format that is compatible with the audio player. And finally, you can use a resource that is the camera. Students can create their own videos or pictures to include presentations or as evidence of work, which would be for plays, oral presentation, TED Talks, etc. Actually, in this ETC course, you are required to use a lot of your cameras. To use your camera a lot, because you're required to make some videos, you're required to take pictures of some of the things that the material that you have created. For example, for your mind map that we just mentioned, you're required to take a picture of the mind map and upload it to your platform. You must know how to use the camera so that you can instruct the students, and you need a system in your class that allows the students to access this resource in an organized manner. Technology aids. Formally speaking, we can call technology ITCs, information and communication technologies. In general, the term ITC encompasses all these software and hardware that help us retrieve information and communicate. However, in the realm of language teaching, the use of technology in the language classroom is called computer-assisted language learning, or CALL. While the use of mobiles is called MAL, mobile-assisted language learning. So I know that the mobile aspect for us, especially as teachers in elementary and secondary schools, can be complicated because mobile phones are prohibited, but you can always use them in after class activities, okay? Okay, so we have, okay, yeah, you know what, we're going to leave this as a homework because we only have 5 minutes left. You're going to do the activity at home. You're going to discuss the questions. This will be answered by yourselves. How should ABT be used in the classroom? You're going to name 3 advantages and 3 disadvantages of using ABT in the EFL classroom. And you're going to propose activities that are more suitable when using the ABT. Then you're going to pick a resource to use in your class. You're going to do this individually since you're going to do this after we're done with the session. And you're going to use the questions to reflect the use of it. Does it help to use the materials? What are your thoughts? Is it easy to use? The steps to follow, are the steps clear? And is there a variety of practice activities on which to choose from? You're going to answer and you're going to upload your answers to this part of your platform. Okay? There's another activity that you're going to do at home as well. You know what? Okay, we're going to leave this activity for tomorrow because I would like to do this in group. Okay, so try if it's possible because of I know that you guys have busy schedules. Try to see if you can answer or at least have a notion of this activity so that tomorrow when we resume our session, we can do this together. We can talk about the advantages and disadvantages that you found, and we can have possible solutions discussed in class. Okay, and then after the session, you can use this part over here and upload your material. Let's briefly talk about the teacher's role before we leave this session. Because a teacher's job is to manage the activities during the lesson, there are different kinds of behaviors they must have. This change in behavior is what we commonly known as teacher roles. The roles will suit the lesson type, activities, lesson aims, and level and age of the students. Examples of roles and how to adapt them to classroom situations. The teacher as a resource. The description would be the students can reach to the teacher for help, for feedback on correction and advice. In what kinds of situations when students ask for online resources to practice a language outside the classroom. The teacher as a prompter or involver. The teacher makes sure that the students are involved in the lesson and participate. In what situation will teachers design a lesson plans with activities that help maintain the levels of engagement? In a role of a teacher as a manager or planner, the teacher organizes the learning space, makes sure everything in the classroom is running smoothly. Teachers organize the material and worksheets that are reused in class. In the role of a teacher as a monitor, the teachers see how well the students are performing or how well they are performed. In a classroom situation, for example, the teacher could walk around the classroom while the students are working on a task. The teacher, a diagnostician, teacher observes the students and their skills they possess and the skills they need in the language. And in the classroom situation, teachers can design activities to collect language samples from their students, then determine an action plan. As finally, as a role in the teacher as a parent or friend, teachers provide advice and guidance and help students at a personal level. They can comfort them, and listen to them. In a situation in a classroom, teachers create weekly meetings where students discuss personal situations if they feel like it. Socio-emotional activities can also be integrated, and this can create a special bond that will help students, trust their teacher and make learning easier for them. Conclusion: regardless of the roles they assume, teachers shape the culture of their classrooms, improve students' learning, and influence practice and production. Additionally, we must view these roles as dynamic and overlapping at times. So we are now done with this section. We still have a little bit more to go before we're done with our classes on Thursdays and next Thursday and Friday. Do you guys have any questions or any comments before we end the session?
I have to read again.
Do you have to read again?
Yeah.
The whole thing?
Yes, I don't understand.
What is your question, Nancy?
No, I'm just want to read again and try to understand better.
Okay, I understand. Yeah,
Thank you.
that's fine. Anybody else that has anything they'd like to add, a comment?
Me.
No, I didn't understand.
Jasmine?
I didn't understand each one of the different roles of the teacher in a classroom.
Okay. You didn't understand the roles?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay, okay. But what was your question?
No, I have no question.
Oh, okay, okay. Dalia, did you want to add something to the class?
Yes, the activities that we have to upload in Blue or Learning, we have a deadline.
I'm not sure. I was actually going to ask that to the coordinator. I'm not sure if the deadline would be Friday. I'm not sure if you have a little bit of extra time because I realize it's a lot of work that you guys have to do. Let me check on the deadline and I'll let you guys know tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay?
Because yesterday I didn't do anything about the activities because I had to send a report to the English department. So it was a little hard to do the activities and the report at the same time.
I'm asking the coordinator. Let me see if she answers before we leave. But if not, I will let you know tomorrow. Anybody else has a question, anything that they would like to add, something that they didn't like, something that they liked? Feel free to say anything that's on your mind. You guys are very shy today. I have more students today, but they're less participative. Yes, Cynthia?
We have to do all the modules that appear in boiler.
Cynthia, I cannot understand you. There's a lot of like static. Can you get closer to your microphone?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Do we have to do all the modules that have in the ball learning?
Yes, the 3 sections.
The three sections?
Section 1, section 2, and section 3.
Uh-huh.
Let me show you here on the contents table. The ETC has the section 1, and you have a sample test. We're almost done with section 2. We are over here, have these 3 to finish tomorrow. There's a sample test as well, and then we're going to start with section 3 on Thursday and Friday as well, which would be the social emotional skills, student-teacher relationship, and blended learning.
Okay.
Rosalba just answered. You have until next Tuesday to finish with all the activities. So you still have this week, weekend, Monday and Tuesday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, guys. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very happy that we have a larger group. I hope that you guys are satisfied with my teaching. And if you guys have any questions or anything, please feel comfortable at any moment to let me know if I'm going too fast. Please let me know. And if there's nothing else to add, I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you,
Thank
teacher.
you.
Good
Thank
night.
you, guys. Good night. Have a
Bye.
nice evening and have a nice day tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, teacher.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.